Welcome guys. Before we dive into everything, let me grab your attention for a moment, because what you're about to hear about Nolan's new buff and this entire build is something every assassin player needs to understand if they want to dominate solo rank. If you're listening right now, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below, because your support genuinely helps more than you think, and it lets me keep creating this kind of long, in-depth gameplay breakdown that you can enjoy while grinding your matches. Now, let's get straight into why Nolan suddenly feels like he's been awakened this patch, and how this build transforms him into one of the scariest heroes to face when you're queuing alone with random teammates. So starting with the new S38 buff, Nolan got something deceptively simple but incredibly impactful: cooldown changes on skill 1 and skill 2. They took his 2.5 to 1.5 second cooldown range and compressed it down to 2.5 to 1 second. On paper, half a second might look small, but for a hero like Nolan, who relies heavily on weaving in and out of combat through precise timing, this is massive. Nolan is a hero that lives inside his cooldowns. Every dash, every portal, every slice matters. That extra half second means your entire combo cycle becomes smoother. You no longer feel that awkward moment where you're waiting just a little too long for your next dash to come available, especially in tight fights. This buff pushes Nolan into a completely different gear in the mid to late game, because when players start stacking defensive items, raw burst isn't always enough. But having almost constant ability availability lets you extend fights, pressure more targets, and escape danger far more consistently. This buff also improves Nolan's reliability. In solo rank, the chaos level is high. Teammates chase randomly. Enemies appear from weird angles. Teamfights break out when you least expect them. With the new cooldown changes, Nolan becomes one of the few assassins who can comfortably adapt mid-fight. You can engage, back out, reposition, and re-engage faster than almost anyone else. This smoother gameplay rhythm means fewer mistakes from being caught without skills ready. And it also means you can punish opponents more frequently, because the windows where they think you're vulnerable are now much shorter. Everything about Nolan's mid and late game becomes more stable and dangerous thanks to this single adjustment. And this is exactly where the first item of the build, Blade of the Heptaseas, begins to shine even brighter. A shorter cooldown rotation pairs beautifully with the ambush passive, because taking or dealing no hero damage for 5 seconds becomes way easier to manage when you can dash in, burst, and instantly disengage with low cooldowns. Heptaseas gives Nolan a hard-hitting opener, and that initial ambush damage, combined with Nolan's portals, creates a burst window that most squishy heroes cannot react to. The passive slow also helps you land your portal marks more consistently, especially now that your follow-up skills return faster. The combination of the buff plus Heptaseas makes early fights feel extremely comfortable. You jump in, secure pressure, reset, and then strike again before most enemies are ready.
Our inhibitor turret is under attack.
Then you flow naturally into Ice Hunter's tough boots, which become extremely valuable now that you're interacting more frequently in fights thanks to lower cooldowns. Nolan's biggest weakness has always been crowd control. If he can move, he's deadly. If he's held down, he crumbles. The 25% CC reduction directly complements the new cooldown buff, because when your abilities come back sooner, you want to be able to use them sooner, and the boots ensure you aren't stuck in stuns or slows long enough for enemies to punish you. The Hunter passive also speeds up your jungle clear and gives extra true damage, which scales nicely with Nolan's fast rotation playstyle. When your skills come off cooldown faster, your map movement becomes your greatest weapon. You appear in lanes where enemies don't expect you, and you snowball the entire match through pressure and tempo.
That was amazing!
Would have been lost long ago.
Now, once you hit your third item, Hunter Strike, That's where Nolan starts feeling truly alive. Hunter Strike is a perfect extension of everything the buff promotes. Since your skills now refresh quicker, you can stack Hunter Strike's passive movement speed extremely easily by repeatedly damaging the same target. Each dash and each slice applies another stack, and once you get that speed boost, Nolan becomes an assassin that feels like a literal shadow slipping across the battlefield. You jump in, burst someone, then immediately reposition for the next target. And even if you don't kill someone, the mobility you gain is enough to escape or reset a fight instantly. The strength of Hunter Strike becomes even more noticeable in solo rank, where enemies aren't coordinated and often panic when a fast-moving assassin keeps appearing around their backline. As the game progresses, Malefic Roar enters the build and elevates Nolan's damage profile to a new level. With your new buff granting you more sustained skill uptime, Malefic Roar allows your hits to ignore huge portions of armor, making even tanky heroes vulnerable to your portal detonations. The Armor Buster and Breaker passives make every mark you apply more meaningful, especially in extended fights where you're constantly weaving in and out, applying multiple hits. Tanks who normally shrug off assassins now find themselves melting when Nolan gets on top of them, because you aren't relying on a single burst, you're relying on a cycle of repeated skill use, and Malefic Roar complements that perfectly.
How disappointing.
And then you reach the peak of your damage spike with Blade of Despair, which ties perfectly into Nolan's new play pattern. Because your cooldowns are so much lower, you get more opportunities to finish off targets, and BOD amplifies that kill potential massively. As soon as an enemy drops below 50% HP, your damage increases dramatically, letting you secure kills with confidence. Your portals hit harder, your dashes cut deeper, and you can swing fights instantly. It also gives you that little bit of movement speed that helps you chase or reposition. And with the buff ensuring that your abilities cycle fast enough, you constantly put pressure on enemies who think they can escape. In solo rank, where kills and momentum define the entire flow of the match, BOD turns Nolan into a closer, the one who ends fights, not just starts them. Closing the build with Halberd makes everything even more cohesive. Because the new cooldown buff encourages Nolan to take part in more skirmishes and prolonged sequences, having anti-regen becomes extremely important. Many heroes right now rely on lifesteal, spell vamp, or shields to survive assassin pressure, but Halberd shuts that down. Every hit you land applies the anti-regen effect, which means in extended fights, enemies no longer have the sustain to turn things around. It also gives you bonus damage against heroes with higher extra HP, which helps tremendously in late-game teamfights where fighters and tanks try to frontline. Combined with your rapid skill cycle, you apply Halberd's effects repeatedly, making you a consistent threat to every role on the enemy team. And that's how everything links seamlessly together. The buff enhances Nolan's tempo and reliability, and this build amplifies every part of his burst, mobility, penetration, and sustained pressure. In solo rank, this turns Nolan into a hero capable of carrying even the most unpredictable teammates, because your impact isn't dependent on them. The buff lets you take more fights. The build ensures you win those fights. And your ability to move across the map faster than anyone else lets you control the entire game flow from early to late.
Legendary.
One of Nolan's biggest advantages in solo rank is how fast he clears waves. Every time you dash across a minion wave, you leave your dimensional rifts behind. And once those rifts detonate, the entire wave evaporates. This gives Nolan something only a few assassins can claim: the ability to hard push a land without exposing himself for too long. Most assassins have to stand still to clear waves or blow their main resources to do it. But Nolan can dash through once, leave all his damage zones, and let the wave die while he's already moving away. And because his cooldowns are lower now, he can repeat this process non-stop. Push the wave, disappear into the jungle, come back 3 seconds later, and do it again. In solo rank, where your teammates often fail to control waves, Nolan steps in and fixes the macro by himself. What makes Nolan especially effective for solo lane pressure is how safe he is while doing it. His kit naturally creates escape routes because every dash can become part of your retreat path. You go in with one dash, clear the wave with the second, and keep your third ready to disengage. Even if an enemy rotates to punish you, Nolan almost always has an exit because his skills refund movement space instantly. That's something most assassins don't have. If they commit forward, they're stuck there. Nolan isn't. His entire damage pattern is built on movement, so he can never be fully locked down unless you misposition severely or run directly into CC. Even then, with tough boots and smart timing, you slip out before they can collapse fully. So if you're still listening right now, you're a real supporter, and I genuinely appreciate you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling me what hero you want to see next. Your support means a lot, and it keeps me motivated to bring you more long breakdowns like this.